Okay, we are back. They call that technical difficulties. All right, so we are back, and I'm going to have Dr. Israel come and join me, and we are going to talk about the miracle mentality. Good to see you, Albert Preciato, World Shaker. So, Albert, you better come to my party Monday night. Monday night, the Tim Storey party is going to be virtual. Dr. Israel, good to see you.
Good to see you, sir. How are you doing?
All right, so, a lot of our followers are not people who are, people that understand biblical things. But in our best way, we're going to try to explain a little bit about a miracle mentality. Can we do that?
I'm sure we can.
Without
Firstly,
taking
happy birthday for Monday.
Thank you. Without taking them too deep into,
Right, sure.
things.
Right.
So I was talking about a miracle. So that we need to get to the point where we believe in miracles, we expect miracles, we receive miracles, and you could actually become a miracle, right?
Right.
And then you become a miracle releaser, okay? So Dr. Israel has traveled to how many countries now? It's even more than me.
It's over 85 nations.
So 85 nations you've been to. And one of the things is that I love about you is that you have a story that you have not always been a miracle releaser. So
Right.
he's a speaker, life coach, trainer of people, tutor to people, mentor to people, and originally from South Africa, right?
Correct.
One of my favorite places in the world.
Beautiful.
And so tell me a little bit about how you learned to be a person to believe in miracles.
Well, I think life affords many different opportunities, good and bad. And sometimes you just find yourself in the place of impossibility. And how do I go forward? And that's when you either give up or you hope. And I think the hope part is something that activates that miracle mentality. Instead of giving up in the mindset and the framework, begin to hope for a better situation, a better tomorrow, a better, whatever's going on in your life, hope for a better of that. And so that's part of elevating that emotion as well. Believing, hoping for something better to come. And I think for me, that's where that started.
I love that. And I think what you're saying also, in order to get to that place of hope and belief, you have to clear out the negatives and the clutter that's been in your mind.
Absolutely.
That is not possible. Tell them how important it is to clear out the clutter to make room for the miracle mindset.
Right. Absolutely. Again, we say, less is more. And so often, even in our thinking, less is more. Because we can get into our own head, we can get into our own problems and situations, and we actually begin to fear the worst instead of believing for the best, because we've been so busy in the mind, going through and through, declutter that space. Because remember that fear is diametrically opposed to faith.
Wow.
It has a power. Fear has a power. Faith has a power.
Yes.
That hope has a power, but that fear has a power. And so getting rid of the negative stuff, put a leash. I always say put a leash on your mind when you take your mind for a walk. Don't let it just run free, because that running free, the seeing all the circumstances, seeing the negatives, thinking about the negatives, that's only going to cause that fear to be amped up, Tim. And that's where we're going to have the downward spiral instead of the upward.
Okay, that is so powerful. So in the midst of what we call a pandemic, okay,
Right.
and in the midst of being closed off, Dr. Israel, is that we're quarantined in some states, some countries, because people are watching from all over the world right now. So people are quarantined, and then people have a mask on. So it's like everything is like quarantine, right?
Right.
How do we get to where we don't quarantine our spirit and quarantine our dream or quarantine our mind, that we can still believe for things that are beyond.
Right. Well, one of the things that I've looking into the future from behind a wall doesn't work. And we've built walls for ourselves. And so in order for me to see the future accurately, I got to climb on top of that wall. I got to set myself on a rampart.
Okay, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
So you said it's hard to dream when there's a wall in front of you.
Right.
So you have to find a way to get on top of the wall.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Find a way to get on the top of the wall. And that's why I talk about elevate emotion.
Okay. Help us with that.
Yeah, because your emotion governs you in so many different ways. It's a subconscious arena. It's not your cognitive. It's happening inside. It's an inner turmoil, maybe, inner struggle, a loneliness, whatever it is, that's depressing you. It's putting you down as opposed to elevating you. And so even, you can take meds for depression, but you could also find a way to elevate that emotion. So just by getting simple things, Tim, getting more oxygen,
yes,
standing up, putting your shoulders back, going for a walk. So when you feel that moment of depression coming, do something about it immediately. Get up, go for a walk. Stand up, walk around your room. Push your shoulders back if you can't leave that space. Do something, and then to begin to think about the possibilities of a better tomorrow.
okay,
So govern the mind.
Powerful, so powerful. Because as you teach, whatever you ponder on and think on and meditate on, it really does come closer to you and it begins to absorb your mind.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So governing your thoughts, so as a man thinks here, as a man thinks here, so is he. In other words, his behavior is determined directly by the way he thinks.
So powerful.
And those thoughts are given to us through different things: education, circumstances, disappointments, hope deferred, failures. They're given to us. And so, if you're sick in your heart, your decision making is going to be sick. Your activity is going to be sick, right? And so we've got to govern the way we think, both cognitively and subconsciously. We've got to govern the way we think by putting in the right thought. So it's up to us to inject the right thought into our being.
Yes.
And so, whether you're going to watch a movie. So one of my favorite movies, I know, maybe silly, but it's Wild Hogs.
Yes.
I love that movie. I relate to it. I identify.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah. And, I remember the time, Tim, I was going through a hard time in South Africa, going through a bit of a tsunami, and heavy depression was coming on me. And I had to shake it off. So I went to the theater, which those days I didn't do much of. And I went to the theater to watch Wild Hogs. And I slipped into the wild at the very start. I slipped in the back in the dark. And somebody else slipped in next to me. It happened to be one of the students I was training.
Yes.
He was skipping class.
Yes.
But we both ended up, Tim, on the floor, on our knees, crying, laughing, crying, having a great time together. Student and mentor, both elevating our emotions. And so that's one of the practical things I do is to get some medicine of laughter.
No doubt about it. And I do that with humor. I'm very into comedy. I do it with music, as you see.
Right.
I'm very moved by music. I was listening to Stevie Wonder this morning, but music from the 70s, because it takes me back to being young and being innocent and having a bounce, and not just being a busy person that has a lot of responsibility. If I thought about me being a busy person with a lot of responsibility 7 days a week, I would get overwhelmed. But why don't you do me a favor? Tell the people why you think I stay upbeat so much. I mean, you've been around me for over 20 years. And why do you think I stay upbeat? Because I was up at 4:30 yesterday, and I finished work not till 9:30.
Right. Look, I think you're somebody that knows who you are. And I think that's very key. I am, and therefore I do. As opposed to I do so I can somehow create a living.
Wow.
You are who you are. I am that I do what I do. I am uh, the doing becomes automatic and easy. And I call that being pulled from your future as opposed to being pushed from your past. And I think, you're a very purposed person that has made a decision to love life and fully live life. And I think, you display that. You're an inspiration in the way your energy flows out. We're pretty much the same age. I can tell you now, you have a lot more energy than I do. I see you going, I get tired for you. Uh, but but the point is, you've got it. You've got this passion to live, but it's not a living for yourself. It's a living for others. It's a
No,
serving of others.
and
Yeah,
thank you for that. And the first time that we met, and as far as doing something together, you had a conference, and tell
right.
them where it was and how many people were there.
It was in Belgium back early days. We had about 5,000 people. Now you got to remember that this conference was historic. It had never been done before. Christian gatherings were not popular at that time. You
Yeah,
probably had maybe 150 people normally in a gathering. We had an historic conference there. You came out, and I can still remember part of your message, Tim, because you're talking about a cat crossing a road,
yes.
and you made all the movements of how the cat would go across the road, and the people loved it, Tim. I loved it, and we fell in love with who you are and what you're doing in the earth. Just watching you demonstrate that cat trying to cross the road.
But that was literally the early '90s, wasn't it?
Right, right. Probably 94. I'm guessing 95. I don't know. Early
Yes.
90s.
So
So
we've been around each other a long time. So we
right.
have about 3 minutes left. I just want to say, Dr. Israel is a great mind. He has books. He does life coaching. He's a mentor. He has his own school. Been to over 80 nations of the world. And what is the best way for everyone to get in contact with you?
Well, you can go to my webpage. That is drisraelmcgookin.com.
And please spell
drisraelmcgookin.com.
McGuckin, because most of us have never heard that name before you.
All right. McGuicken is McGuicken. Let me repeat that. McGuicken. And it's Israel McGuicken.
And listen, you're enjoying helping people, aren't you?
Absolutely. I love it. I love it.
All right. So you're telling us that better days are ahead. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so excited.
Are you telling us we're going to be okay?
You are. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to make it. And listen, everything's turning around for your good. So hope, hold on, and climb on top of the wall. Look out and see it. Get it.
All right. Dr. Israel, thank you for your time today.
Thank you,
And
sir.
everybody that's watching, don't forget Monday night next week. Thank you guys for celebrating my birthday with me. We can't have big parties, so we're going to have a virtual party with a lot of people and a lot of friends online, and also the release of my new book called Miracle Mentality with Harper Horizon. All right. Have a great day. And thanks again, Doctor. You look fantastic.
Thank you. You too, sir.
Life is good. Bye-bye.
Life is